Welcome back, everybody. My name is Zach Shelley, and I'm your host of Management Unfiltered. I'm super excited to have you guys back on another episode. Today, we have a special guest, somebody that I can not only call a fellow member of the dental industry that I know, but I would love to, introduce him as a friend of mine that I've gotten to know over the last couple years, and definitely making waves in the dental industry. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce you, my friend Tito Albino. Tito, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Zach. Like you couldn't have said it any better. Started off as strangers, got into the dental field and met, and I'm proud to call you a friend. So happy to be on here with you.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. It means a lot. Tito, tell me a little bit just about you, the practice that you're currently at, and what it looks like day in and day out.
So I've been in dentistry now for 15 years. It's pretty insane to look back and say, wow, 15 years. It happened so quickly. I remember getting into the field. Not knowing anything about dentistry. I started off as a medical assistant 15, a little over 15 years ago. Worked at a community health center and accidentally got into the dental field. Working through medical assistant, I worked at a community health center and pretty much worked every single department of that health department because other than dentistry, because I applied myself. I always wanted to work there as a kid. There's another story to that, where I found an emotional attachment to wanting to work there, to give back to the community. So an opportunity arose. ADA was in a pilot program, and I got involved with it. Free schooling, became an expanded function dental assistant, fell into dentistry. Absolutely loved it. Didn't think that I would love it as much as I do, but it's one of those things. Once you get in it and you have a passion for it, there's no coming out of it, really. Um, did dental assistant for 10 years, and then got into management when I moved to Florida. Expanded function doesn't look the same way as it does in the state of Pennsylvania. So I
Absolutely.
was used
Big
to doing
change.
so much. Yeah, I was used to doing so much more independently, kind of like what a physician assistant is to a doctor, was kind of what an expanded function is to a dentist in Pennsylvania. So came here, was kind of a little bored, and said, what's next? And got into management. Already had some leadership qualities from working at UPenn. And was working at a single practice location, and did applied myself there, and worked at you know brought the vision to the doctors. The vision the doctor had, brought it to life. He wanted to grow his current practice, and we expanded that practice and opened up two additional operatories, and then helped him open up the second location,
Mm.
which was phenomenal. I loved doing that, building a practice from the ground up, designing it, making sure that it made sense, cohesive. The me having the clinical and the administrative side, it was nice to like put a design of a practice together to help it make sense for both sides, as far as the flow. I love interior design, so I was able to
Yeah.
help with that. And then I left there. It was a heartbreak leaving that practice. It was my first practice managing at that capacity. And then I fell into, working at an office where I was hired to, run their fourth location that they were in the process of opening up. And regional manager was out on vacation for an entire month, decided she was never coming back, and I was given the opportunity to take on the role of regional manager, overseeing four practices, which was whirlwind in itself. And I got into action right away. I love mentorship. So right away I knew that we had to change things. One person was not going to be able to run four practices and make the changes that needed to happen. So I put four office managers at one office manager each location. So now I have four office managers that I mentor, and I help them oversee the practices. So it's fun, because now I get to kind of mentor them, run the
Yeah.
practices, but still overall seeing the daily operations of the whole practice and the business. Like was stating, I hired four office managers, one for each location, and from there, it made my job easier to be able to. Mentor and manage the business more effectively, because now I just let them run the offices, but I'm also I still play a big role in stepping in and not just doing regional manager. I still step in and I assist and fill in when I need to assist. step in as treatment coordinator as I'm stepping in this week. So I like to still get in and keep myself active, engaging with the patients.
Super important.
Like, yeah, versus just sitting in the background in an office, running reports, pushing numbers, paying bills. It's a fun thing, and not to mention I'm also starting a dental assistant school with my business. So
Man,
it's never ending.
that's awesome though that you're going to create your own feed of good quality DAs that you can handpick out of your school, and I've heard
Yep.
of people doing that before, and the ones that have the time and the wherewithal to actually do that is super cool because you're setting yourself up for success in a whole different way that most people don't know. Tito,
Yeah.
I want to touch on something that you said earlier because I thought it was really interesting and it speaks volumes in the management world. So, docs, as you're listening to this, because we have doctors listening in, we have office managers listening in, really dig into this. Is you said in your previous office you brought the owner's kind of vision to reality, and tell me what that looked like because it sounds like the owner had to relinquish some of that control to their OM to be able to make these things happen and give you that ability to run forward with a vision. So what did that look like?
Yeah, I mean, before I even took on the role, and I do this with any job that I take, really is, if I'm going to work with you, what is it that you need from me? What is it that you are seeing your business? Where do you want to take your business? Where do you want to take your personal life? Like, what is your overall big picture? Because for me, on that in that level of management, for me, I want to be able to ensure that I'm doing everything I can to treat the business as my own and to make that vision become a reality. If I don't get to that point, and I have to bring in some help, that's perfectly fine. But it for me, I think it speaks volume when you have someone in your business that's really treating your business as if it was their own. I sat with him and I said, "What is your vision for the next 5 years? You've never had an office manager. What is it that you're looking to get from having an office manager in your business?" And I just wrote those things down and I made it my vision and my goal to make it happen. Even on a personal level, I remember him saying, I have hygienists who are coming to work and driving better cars than I am. I'm driving a Honda Civic. Like, I want to be able to drive a nice car one day. And I said, well, what car is that you want to drive? And not that I made that personal choice or went to the car dealership to go purchase it with him, but the
Yeah,
fact that we were able to bring in that revenue and improve things in the practice, that he was able to now take home a nice, income where he wasn't before. Before I left there, he was driving a Porsche.
there you go.
So it
Yeah,
was nice to walk away and see that. He told me he wanted to drive a better car. He was driving a Porsche. He told me he wanted to expand the business. We opened, expanded and did two more opportunities, and then he wanted to open up a second location, and we made that happen. And it
yeah.
was it was rewarding for me to do that and walk away saying like I gave my all, but also knowing that I left them, with being successful in that sense, and
Yeah.
and they can do things on their own, and that I was okay walking away from that.
That's epic, and it shows true trust and transparency with the owner to know, like, hey, I'm trusting you enough with my livelihood because this is the doc's paycheck. This is his family and home life. Like, they invest a ton of money into their dental school, but then they come out and not everybody is a great business person. So being able to trust somebody that's saying, hey, I got this and I'm going to run it for you. They can run it into the ground or they can
Yeah,
run it through the roof and the sky is
yeah,
the limit. And so docs, as you're listening to this, really think and look at the qualities of your office manager that you have in your practice today. Like, do they have the capability to really spread their wings and fly with this? And if they do, you really need to be pushing them to be their best and support them. And this is one of these underlying, kind of rolling waves through the industry is like there is so much that can be done in a dental practice if we're able to get the owner docs on board with allowing the office managers to truly run the practice how they need to. And that's what
yeah,
I'm hearing that you've been able to do and being able to expand. And that's where we're seeing these super GP practices come out to where you have multi locations and you have, all these different things. So that's super cool to hear that. And I love to hear that growth. And I've heard it before, Tito. And I'm glad that we're able to share this with the other group. And the next point I really want to touch on is before we get into where you got into regional manager, which is a totally different ball game from what you were currently doing because you got multiple offices, multiple office managers, and all that. Everybody that's listening in on this show, if you know the American Association of Dental Office Management, Tito was also awarded the Multi-Location Office Manager of the Year. So who we're listening to is somebody that is highly valued and been voted to the top performing OM that's considered this year in this nation. So, Tito's been in the grind. He knows what's going on. He knows how these practices run. He knows how to be profitable. So just really think about the value that's coming from this episode, that you're getting it from the best. So with that being said, Tito, I had to put that in there because we can't let the episode go without anybody knowing that. Absolutely. So tell me now, so you were, multi-location before because you went from one location to two locations, correct? With your previous office. So now you're to four locations, correct? And four different office managers. How many docs are working under you? How many team members? And what does that look like in that transition? Like it's worlds apart. Like regional manager, four different offices. So just give me the nitty gritty. Like, do you have specialties in some offices? Like, what does everything look like?
It's a lot to manage. I have six full-time dentists under me,
Ooh,
two part-timers. I have a total of 50 team members amongst all the four offices, a ton of different personalities, a ton of different needs and wants for each practice. We have a specialty that come in. We have orthodontists that work one Saturday a month. I have an endodontist that work two Saturdays a month. A little bit of everything. And every day I have, the challenge of my practice owner, my boss, who is still practicing with us 2 days a week, who wants to do everything under the sun and the moon,
that's awesome.
in dentistry, which is fantastic. But sometimes he comes in and wants to just, go guns blazing and not really put the systems and protocols into place to make sure that we're rolling it out successfully. He just wants to do it. Um, so it's a big challenge in itself to go from, just running one practice to opening up a second location with the same practice, to then coming in and, overseeing four practices, which each have their own individual needs. They have their own demographics. They have their own, set goals and things that they want to achieve, and they're all unique in their own way. So trying to manage those things is a whirlwind. You literally can go, you know. Uh, haywire, you just spin around once and it's just like going crazy.
Yeah,
But managing all of that is pretty challenging, but I strive on challenge, and I strive on being able to always feel that, energy of always having something different and new.
yeah,
Um, even just scheduling the team members. Sometimes I have to, pull someone from one office and they're shorthanded now, but I need them, over at our busiest office. And
yeah,
it's sometimes, I'm working. I start the moment I open my eyes in the morning. I look at my phone and I see messages from my team members. I'm right away into action. I have to, turn on my computer and see
yeah,
what the schedule's looking at one office. Who can I pull from this one? Because it's light over here, and trying to manage it all is it's a lot. But I wouldn't trade it for the world. I
yeah,
would not trade it for the world. It's one of those things that it's rewarding, just to see everything that we're achieving in a short amount of time that I've been there. And we still have so much more work to do,
yeah,
to get to where I see the vision. But my thing is, if you have the vision and you have the passion for it, nothing's gonna stop you from making it happen.
yeah,
You're gonna do everything in your power to do it, and you're gonna have your stressful days. You're gonna have your days where you're just like, "What am I doing? Why am I doing this?" I'm ready to just throw the glove in and just be done.
yeah.
But then you have those moments where you have team members that I just posted on my on the AADOM group on Facebook the other
I
day, a
saw
screenshot
this.
of
So super cool.
yeah, a team member who just, and I needed to hear that in that moment and receive it,
Yeah,
because it was one of those days that I came home and I was just like, I'm exhausted. I'm just done with this. Do I want to keep doing this? It's just one of those things that's just like, you just sometimes feel burnt out.
yeah, absolutely.
Um, and I got that text message and I was just like, this is why I do it.
Yeah,
This is exactly why I do it. It's because my team, value me in a way that sometimes you don't see it or hear it, but they
yeah,
do.
yeah,
You're showing up for them, and sometimes, in a moment where you don't expect it and you need to hear it, it will come. And
yeah,
it'll come in a form that, you won't, you're not expecting it. And it's just that little token of reminder to say, keep pushing and it's okay. And there's going to be a better day ahead. So I always encourage that with other people who reach out and say, how do you do it? It's just keep pushing, because one day you're going to see that benefit, or you're going to have that one team member, you're going to have that one patient that's just going to thank you. When you sit down with them and and that's why I like, even as a regional manager, I like to, from time to time, jump in as a dental assistant.
Hmm.
I like to jump in and sit down and go over an extensive treatment plan with a patient, trying to figure out how to go over those financial barriers.
Yeah.
Because those are those times for me that when that patient is being dismissed and I'm walking them out to my front team, that they say thank you, wow, you were an amazing assistant, and I don't let them know that I'm the regional manager and that I'm the boss, and they're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I need to speak to your boss. Who, you know what I tell you, you need a raise. And and I
Yeah.
joke around and I'm like, I don't know, but he's somewhere around here. But it's
Yeah.
it's it's nice to step in those aspects, and that's why sometimes I try to humble myself to say, if I expect my team member to scrub a toilet, I'm going to scrub a toilet.
100%. You got to
If
have that mindset every
because
day.
it's that being human. You're not you're not above everyone else because you're an office manager or regional
Yep.
manager. What I expect them to do, I'm going to do myself.
Yeah.
And that's why I show up for my team in the way that I do. And sometimes when I step back and I do those things like assisting and treatment planning and, the little things like, sending insurance claims when I shouldn't be, just, that reward of the team member saying, you know what, thank you. I was behind on sending those claims. You helped me out.
Yep.
Thank you for stepping in as a dental assistant. The patient saying, thank you for helping me, or the patients, thank you for helping me, figure out how to pay for this $50,000 treatment plan that I thought
Yeah.
I could never make happen. And my smile has changed. Sometimes you have to step back from the walls in your office as an office manager, stop crunching those numbers, stop running those reports, go out there and plug up with your team members,
Yeah.
connect with your patients, because that's where you're going to get
100%.
that reward.
Yeah, it's important too that your team feels supported by you. Like it totally comes into the same realm as what we expect from owner docs to come in and support our OMs and get them the education they need. But then us as OMs need to come in and support our team at the same time, come
Yeah.
alongside them. That's one of the biggest things when I talked to our owner doc. I was like, listen, I need to go back to school and get my EFDA. And he's like, that's an interesting thought. And I was like, the reason behind it is I'm training these people and I need to have the same level of education and sit on the same level as them. And once
Yeah.
again, if we're short staffed, I'm going to get alongside of them so I can see the pain points. Cause there's sometimes that, we put systems in place or we do certain things and we're like, that's a great system and I love the way it works. But then you actually get in and function in it and you're like, ooh, these are some areas that need work.
Yeah.
So it's really
Yeah.
good for us to realize and kind of put us back at home of like, okay, we are part of the team. Yes, I'm your boss, but yes, I'm also a team member and I'm part of this organization to help our patients have a great experience.
That's huge for you to say that and to even acknowledge that, you're taking that step to want to do that,
Yeah.
because some people are just management. They've never done anything clinical, so you didn't have those when you're trying to speak that language with your clinical team, if they don't feel like you've been there, done it, they're kind of like in that mentality, like, who are you to say, these things, and you don't even know what it's like to work on a clinical aspect. So the fact that you're even taking that step is huge, and I commend that, and I think that all management at some level should have that type of mentality to want to
Yeah.
get in and do it as well. It's only benefiting you to benefit your team,
Yeah.
and to grow your practice. So that's huge.
So I have another question for you because I'm really curious because I know what it looked like when I came into my practice. You're just a random guy coming in and everybody's like, who's this fool? Right? You're coming into a practice. So you're not just coming into a singular practice, one doc. Like you're coming into an organization that's well established, right? And it's not just one office. You got four different locations. So you essentially have four different teams, but then you're saying six docs. Like there's a lot of moving parts. Like how were you received? How did that integration go? And how is it now? Because you've been there for a little while now, so I feel like things have probably balanced out. But just kind of walk me through that journey of coming on board to this practice, and then how that all happened, and what the staff and team was like. Who is this guy?
It was one of those things that I look back and I'm like, what in the world happened? How did that happen?
Hmm.
Because like I said, I was hired to only run the one practice that they were in the process of purchasing. The
Yeah.
purchase wasn't quite finished, and I was fine with staying where I was at, and I said, listen, I can wait the month once the purchase is done and then make that transition over.
Yeah.
But they really wanted me right away. They're like, no, we want you to come in, kind of get a feel for what's going on, give us some ideas. And plus the regional manager at the time was on vacation, like I said, so he said, I want to bring you in and kind of fill in for her,
Hmm.
you know, until she comes back.
Yeah.
And that gives you a sense of what's going on, and then we'll transition you to that other location.
For sure.
So I was already working there, kind of already, kind of the interim regional manager. So I was seeing a lot of things, and I mean, my eyes were just like every day, like in shock, like what is going on? Why is this happening this way? Why are they doing this way? But I didn't want to also step in that aspect of saying like you're doing this wrong and like just overwhelm the team, because I knew she was going to be, in my mind, she's coming back. She's gonna come back. I don't want to change things, and then she comes back and she's like, "What is this?" And and then not receive me
Yeah.
well. So I was just very very chill, very humble, getting to know the team, and quickly realizing that there was a lot of toxicity in the practice. So I was already like, if in my head, I'm already making a list. Like, if I was a regional manager, I already know who has to go. I already know what needs to change, because one thing that I have zero tolerance for is like toxicity in the workplace. If you keep that toxicity, you keep that poison in practice, it's just going to spread like wildfire, and you will not get the respect, or you will not get the growth in the practice that you need to, if that is hindering your team, because your team's just going to show up to work and they're going to get their bare minimum, they're going to come in for a paycheck, and they're not really in it to be invested in your business and your practice. So in the beginning, I had some people who were on my side, and they were my cheerleaders, and they were super happy that I was there. And then I had the other people that were just like, you're a snake and I know what you're up to. And they already in their head, they didn't know the true story, that I was, really hired for this one practice. They
Yeah.
kind of see me coming in, and you're, filling in while she's away. Like something's, suspect here.
Yeah.
And then of course she's like, I'm not coming back, and they automatically thought it was my fault. And I was just like, guys, this is not
Oh
my fault. So
man.
it was a whirlwind where it was just like I was losing the trust of the team.
Hmm.
They felt like I came in on a sneak level with the practice owner. Was it me because that she left? Did I fire her? Like, it was just a lot going on.
Tito turned Navy SEAL mission.
Yeah,
Boot this
exactly.
person out.
So the first few months was very tough, but
Yeah.
when he officially put me into that role, I said, you have to be willing to let people go that are not invested in your practice, who are not invested in your business. And I'm okay being the bad guy in that aspect, but I guarantee you that when we get the right team into place, we're going to be in a better position. And that's kind of where we are now. So I'm not, we were kind of like in a place where we had to let that situation happen.
Yeah.
And now we have some rock star team members in the office that are really, just driving our practice forward.
Yeah.
And you have to be doctors, you have to, your first year when you bring in a new office manager, if they are skilled in the way that they are truly skilled and are seeing the big picture, and they can tell you right off the bat, like, this is what I'm seeing, this is what I think can happen, this is what we can do to change things, let them do it. But let them do it in bite sizes. Don't overwhelm the team,
Yeah.
because if you do it all at once and you kind of just like roll it out, it'll be a disaster. But you have to trust them to be able to do those things, because and anticipate that that first year of that change, you're gonna have a decline. You're gonna
Yeah.
have a decline of your team kind of like feeling down, your numbers going down a little bit, because they might come in and say, we need to stop doing things this way, we need to do it the right way. You might be doing things that you shouldn't be doing per the insurance, and
Hmm.
you have to do it the right way.
Yep.
And you have to maybe go in and start renegotiating contracts, putting your fees up, and you might have not raised your fees in the last 5 years. So those are things that in that first year, when you're having someone come in and really revamping your business to take it to the next level, you have to be okay with being uncomfortable with taking a hit that first year. And that's the biggest struggle that I had to, get my practice owner to realize, is like, it's fine. I've been here, done that with my previous practice, and I consistently every single year helped grow the business. Some one year I remember growing it 20%. because we were just doing things the right way, putting proper systems in place. So I encourage you guys to doctors, owners, to be okay with that hit in that first year when you're wanting to make a significant change, because you're going to reap the benefit of something better for the long run.
For sure. You made a good point too. We said this in the pilot episode. Matt Brown and I were chatting, and we got to be able to fail at some point or another. And owner docs, like what Tito's trying to say is, it's okay that we're not hitting our marks at certain points, because in order for your OM to be really, really good and efficient at what they do, every once in a while they have to fail. They have to miss their mark. And then we have to have these conversations about it, like why did we miss a mark? What did we miss there? And how are we going to move forward from that? So I think that's like
Yeah.
super, super valuable lesson. Like bite-sized pieces, let them take some shots, because that's where it's going to build the trust, where you're going to actually start to grow. And nobody's perfect. I mean, docs, there's been instances where things haven't been perfect for you, and you've learned from those. But if we just continually like, no, don't do that, I'll do it because I know how to do it, like there's not going to be that fostering or growth. So I think that's super
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Tito, before we hop off here, like this has been a really, really great conversation. And what I really think is we need a secondary episode, that will dive in some more nitty gritty of like what that mentoring and management really looks like for multi-location and multi-specialties. So I will definitely be reaching out to you to record more, because I think we need to dive into like an hour episode, hour and a half of like just that, which will be super epic.
We'll get super
Um,
unfiltered too.
yeah. What's one thing other than like you definitely resonate on like there's just the keep grinding and pushing through, but what's one thing you can leave with owner docs and OMs today that they can take home with them that you feel is just super important for them to know?
The one thing that really resonated with me, to be able to, that made a shift in me personally as a leader in my business.
Yeah.
When I first started, I was a very old school office manager. All I ever knew was that old school mentality of like, you go in, you're the boss, you
Yeah.
call the shots, what you say goes, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
I knew nothing better, until I became a part of ADOM and I started seeing this new style, and they were
Yeah.
teaching you like, this is just the new generation coming forward. They don't respond to that anymore. Me growing up and getting into the workforce, yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
like, yeah, this is normal. My boss said, "You gotta do this, get it done."
Yep.
But now you don't. You have to learn how to foster and really like listen to your team, learn their personalities, learn how to communicate with them. So being vulnerable and being comfortable with being vulnerable is one thing that I will say is huge. Doctor owner and office managers, it's so important to meet on a regular basis.
Hmm.
When you set up a meeting, and whether it's weekly meetings, whether it's bi-weekly or monthly meetings, whatever it may be, make sure you set them up and that you actually stick to it.
Yep.
Doctor owners, please do not cancel on your office managers. Show up for
Yeah.
them because they're showing up for you, they're showing up for your team.
Yeah.
Make sure that you stick to those meetings with them, because that's where you guys are really going to connect with each other, and be okay with not be seeing eye to eye every single time. you know Having those conversations and being vulnerable with each other. Doctor owner might have an idea of something of how they want to do it. Office manager might have an idea of how they want to do it. But when you have a candid conversation and you talk about those ideas and how to come to a common ground,
Yeah.
magic will happen.
Oh yeah.
You guys will come to an understanding that maybe the office manager didn't see it that way, maybe the doctor didn't see it that way, and you guys put those pieces together, and what will happen is literally magic. You guys will leave that meeting feeling like, wow, that was great. The fact that I took one piece and you took another piece and you guys put it together and came up with a plan that was able to be executed and rolled out to the team is a game changer.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I am super stoked to finish this episode here with Tito. And Tito, thank you so much for being an absolute amazing guest on this episode of Management Unfiltered. And we look forward to having you on another episode here soon. And we will see you guys next week for another episode of Management Unfiltered.